Hello and good morning. I'm just going to check on the stream, make sure it's going. Hello, everybody. It is I, Brendan. There we go. It's up and going. I don't know who we're going to get in on this, but I just wanted to try this as a format for doing the news. See if I can get some information in before everything starts up today. The kids start waking up and whatnot. So we got an interesting lineup. It's interesting goings on in our weird world today. One of which is apparently somebody's found Amelia Earhart's plane, or what they think may be. So it's like a sonar hit at the bottom of the Pacific. A pilot and explorer who embarked on an $11 million expedition at sea believes he solved one of the world's greatest mysteries, the final resting place of Amelia Earhart's plane that vanished in 1937. Tony Romeo, a former Air Force intelligence officer and the CEO of Deep Sea Vision, sold commercial real estate to fund his deep-sea exploration of the Pacific Ocean last year when he combed the ocean floor with sonar technology in the suspected area of Earhart's crash. His team reviewed sonar data in December, caught by an underwater drone from his research voyage, and found a startling image. A blurry plane-like shape Romeo believes is Earhart's twin-engine Lockheed 10E Electra. Yeah, so about 100 miles from Howland Island, halfway between Australia and Hawaii. Seems like it's in the middle of nowhere. They were expected to land in July 1937 for a refueling stop in her bid to be the first female pilot to circumnavigate the globe, but they never made it. So they it's on the route. It seems like it's where it's supposed to be. She was declared 2 years later. And I think there's been a lot of people out there looking for this, but it may just be that the sonar technology is good enough now. So here's the outline, and it sure looks like an airplane, and it could be a different airplane. I mean, as far as I know, there's a lot of sea battles that might have happened near there in World War II and so forth, and we'll just have to see. They're going to send an ROV down there. Here's the Insta link. But if you want to see more, you can look this up. It's kind of a big deal. Well, I don't know. The guy seems pretty sure of himself, pretty cocksure, but he's it's a pretty solid hit. I mean, it sure looks like a plane, but he's like, look at the tail. I don't see much of it. I see a little bit of a tail, but I don't think how sure I am of that. While it's too soon to determine whether it is indeed the long-lost aircraft, it is an exciting prospect. They plan to return to the site this year or early next year with a camera and remote-operated vehicle to snap better images of the site. So they need to confirm it. So they might send a ROV down there and find it. Be really interesting, kind of like the Titanic. Let's hope they don't send a carbon fiber tub full of millionaires down there, but they actually just send a droid. Anywho, that's kind of exciting. And in UFO news, if you could call this news, I guess our old friend Sean Kirkpatrick Pants has been on a media tour since he retired, aka fired, aka, it seems like you would hope run out on a rail after coming out so surreptitiously in opposition to the Grush revelations earlier in the summer. I think that the whole UFO community was pretty mad at him. Justifiably so, because as soon as Grush came out with his revelations and other folks were testifying to the fact that all these things exist, there's Kirkpatrick, who is still in the agency releasing an official statement letter saying, "Nope, nothing to see here." And so his basic shtick now is he's indirectly accused top members of Congress of holding a religious belief in UFOs that transcends critical thinking and rational thought. In his most pointed commentary, he also fired back at whistleblowers alleging the existence of surreptitious government UFO retrieval and reverse engineering efforts. None of them have first-hand evidence or knowledge. See, that's kind of a catch-22, because these guys are working with top-secret government stuff, and they know that they'll be thrown in jail if they reveal anything that's not cleared to release, right? But then the Inspector General signed off on his accounts, and Grush's accounts, and that none of that would have gone through if any of it had been untrue necessarily. And so it's for some reason I'm getting a bitrate warning. Oh well. The interesting thing is, Kirkpatrick is not news, and he's just towing the line. What really bugs me though is he's accusing everybody of lack of critical thinking and religious belief. I think I saw another thing he put out there is like, of course they're gonna say that I'm a bad guy. Of course they're gonna. None of them are ever gonna believe anything I say. So he's already setting it up. So it's a dog whistle. He's already setting it up so that he's on the inside, a recipient of the ivory tower. He's in the enclave of righteousness, and everybody else is trying to get him. So that it's dog whistling to everybody who already doesn't believe that, oh, hey, listen to me, there's nothing to see here. They're all gonna say I'm a bad man, and it's just kind of messed up. I mean, how he even thinks that he has a leg to stand on, I don't know, because it must have been a little bit embarrassing for him, egg on his face and whatnot, to be in charge of those programs and then have people come out from under him on the side and release these things anyway, right? When he's kind of like the Comden report, he's the guy that's supposed to keep a lid on things. It's really interesting. Grush's statement, along with his claim of interviewing over 40 people over 4 years in an investigation of alleged UFO retrieval and reverse engineering efforts, could be easily disproven if false. If false. Had Grush lied to Congress, he would almost surely be facing legal penalties. So, Grush and the one above it, because I'm reading things in reverse today. Grush, in further contradiction of Kirkpatrick's claims that no whistleblowers have first-hand knowledge of illicit UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities, has testified under oath that he had the people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Intelligence Community Inspector General. So yeah, there's been releases there. There's been private meetings and skiffs, and allegations of non-human intelligence, reverse engineering, biologics, and all that came out. So, KP, you're a joke, son. Far from holding an irrational religious belief in UFOs, as Kirkpatrick seems to suggest, key members of Congress are dead set on forcing government transparency on a decades-long mystery. They should be commended and encouraged, not mocked as true believers. Yeah, if there's nothing there, then why do you have, Rep. Mike Johnson and Senator Mitch McConnell and folks like that blocking the parts of the NDAA that would disclose this stuff, that would set up a special, sort of reconciliation committee that would collect these things and review them to see what's appropriate to release to the people or not. The truth more likely is that these technologies, whatever their source, are being milked for their defense technology capacity and used in freaky deaky weapons that we go and take around the world to blow up the rest of the citizens of our Earth. It's really interesting. I gotta. Okay, watch my feet. So, Yeah, now Kirkpatrick appears to be injecting confusion about this well-known incident. So I saw another piece from CNN a few days ago that didn't go this deep in the analysis, and I didn't know exactly how to respond. But this is nice because the Hill has provided sort of a framework of response, and they did a lot of the homework. The direct contradictions and contraventions of Kirkpatrick's statements. So I forget who's Marek von Rennenkamp wrote this up, and I trust the Hill much more than CNN. I don't trust individual news agencies themselves, but the independent news, more recent independent news with less industry support and less of a history of being armchair generals and basically towing the line for the State Department, much more so. So there's just too much here that KP is basically just saying everything amounts to atmospheric phenomena and/or misunderstood human technology. It's just disingenuous. It's a disingenuous argument. So there's that. That happened. So if you see this dude out there, just laugh and cock your head to the side and say, "We don't believe you." Now, in kind of interesting news, we have a lunar lander, but it's from Japan, and Japan touched down a lunar lander, and but originally it kind of I guess fell on its head a little bit and didn't get back online. The solar panels were not picking up, and it's called Moon Sniper. That's pretty cool. It sounds like Moonraker a little bit from James Bond fame. But this went there, and it's kind of, I think it's looking for olivine, which is igneous rock from the moon, volcanic rock from the moon. Yes, the moon has volcanic rock and volcanic flows. That their volcanoes are not the same as ours, but they do have volcanism and forms of geology there. So it's not just a dead thing full of craters. Touched down near a crater called Scioli, which sits about 200 miles south of the Sea of Tranquility. That's where Apollo 11 first landed. So it's not that big of a crater. It's about 880 feet diameter, but it's something that they're looking for. They're taking. I think they chose this particular crater because the mineral olivine has been found. And anytime you mention olivine, people's eyes light up because we think it probably originates from the mantle of the moon, which we've never really sampled on site before. So they're doing some new science. And that's just, I think that makes 4 different countries maybe with rovers on the moon. I'm not even sure if our rover, or I'm not even sure if we have a current robotic outpost on the moon right now. Everybody else is there doing stuff. Another interesting thing about the moon is there's a large amount of helium-3 deposits, and that could be useful for future fusion reactions. So I guess I hear there's about a hold worth of a spaceship holds worth of helium-3 could power the Earth for like a year or two. Really? It's pretty amazing. I'm not sure how exactly that works, but it's so. Another reason for choosing the vicinity of Scioli as the landing site for Japan's SLIM mission is that its small size was an ideal training ground for the lander's pinpoint accuracy. So that it's slightly inaccurate. So it's a sea of lava. The largest lunar vicinity in the lunar feature in the vicinity of Scioli is the Sea of Nectar, a basin 210 miles in diameter, one of the oldest on the near side of the moon, the hemisphere that always faces Earth. The lunar plane is visible with binoculars or a small telescope. So you could look at this, I think, and see. I don't think you'd see the lander, but you might be able to look with a telescope and see where they landed. Nifty. Anyway, and now it was having some trouble, but it got back to work, and the sun reached its solar panels. And so now they're back up and running, and things are good and going. After several tense days without the sunlight it needs to generate the power, Japan's first lunar mission hits its target in precision touchdown on January 20th, but landed the wrong way up. So you see the lander. I was thinking like somebody could put a little chibi face, like a little frowny face on it, if somebody wants to meme this. Oh, but now it's like a happy face. So it was landed the wrong way and a little less than precision. Pretty precise, not accurate. I forget what the difference between those. Yes, it was precise but not accurate. Not accurate but not precise. And it is now up and running. And it continued the work to analyze the composition of olivine rocks. So it's looking at rocks. It's looking at the moon's origin and evolution. It's investigating. If you don't know, the dominant theory is that the moon originates from a collision between proto-Earth and another protoplanet. I think Orpheus and Theia. I forget which is which. If it was Theia that got struck by Orpheus, or what is the difference anyway? Which was the smaller object, which was the bigger. But through a lot of modeling, and this is one of the answers to people that say we never landed on the moon. Obviously, it's not just us. Multiple countries are now landing on the moon, so they must all be in on it if it's a thing to be in on. But we did, and one of the reasons we know is because we brought rocks back, and that's one of the things that spurred this theory, because the rocks we found there were very similar in composition and nature to the Earth. And likewise, there's a lot of rocks found on the Earth that are very likely lunar in origin. So there's a lunar signature when you find a rock, some meteorites. And that's so that over the millions and really billions of years of adjacency, things have hit the moon and ejected rocks out, and that have fell to Earth, and that happens, and those things happen, and we have the evidence. So, yep, Slim's expected to have enough sun to continue operations for several Earth days, possibly till Thursday. Oh yeah, that's the thing on the moon. A day is a month because it spins at the exact same speed as it revolves around the Earth, and that is also known as being tidally locked. So they have to count things in Earth days here. So it's very, very interesting stuff. My kid woke up, so I've been coming in here for a second. I might have to mute and let him know I'm doing a stream. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me or else. So in a bit more serious down-to-earth news, in Pakistan, they're arresting the former prime minister, I guess, over leaking state secrets and corruption and all this stuff. He's called all the charges against him politically motivated. There was a massive, sort of a bit of a coup. There was a color revolution that deposed him and took him out of office, and he was seen as kind of Pakistan's Trump, Trump could be seen as America's Imran Khan, and vice versa. He's a cricket billionaire, and I don't know whether or not he's corrupt or not. The point is, most of the politicians on the earth, as of right now, are corrupt in one way or another. And so now they're just playing this game of this disingenuous game of trying to find out each other's corruption while the other is in office, and it's kind of a sign of late stage capitalism in its final throes of collapse, where they're eating each other alive, so to speak. And I wouldn't be so alarmed about this happening in Pakistan, except that it's happening in the United States. Go figure. And with the elites and the powers that be cannot contain the fury of the public and the desire to vote for wrecking ball candidates that destroy their oligarchy, and so they've decided to, go after each other and disqualify. I won't name who exactly, and they're trying to disqualify their enemies before they can cause problems for them, which is super ironic because if you really look at it, they all have corruption charges. In this country, in the UK, they talk about the London laundromat, so if you think this is just a third world problem and or an unaffiliated nation's problem, think again. This is all over the world, and the corruption is so deep seated that it's like, no, that's just business. In the first world they call it business, in the third world they call it corruption, but it's really all corruption. If you're running your society from, for the benefit of your pocketbook. So they're putting him in jail for 10 years, which is insane. He was highly critical of the United States is the thing, and it was after he sort of came up against the U.S. and the U.S. interest that they deposed him. Well, made it look like it was a democratic effort to do so, but if you watched what happened, it was extremely drawn out process that was very contrived, and something else to watch, something else to look into. This does have important. It is important. Why should we care? Well, Pakistan is a nuclear armed country. They're bordering Afghanistan and they're bordering India and a bunch of other places. Meanwhile, India, who used to look very democratic, has become much more religiously conservative and has abandoned a lot of their secular efforts. Goat Corpse, how's it going, boss? Well, not bad. How you been? How's it going, though? Thanks for the chat, the one chat on this empty live stream. If you build it, they will come. Let's see. The sentencing comes just days ahead of the delayed 8th of February vote, an election mired in allegations the PTI is not being given a fair chance to campaign. The authorities deny carrying out a crackdown on the PTI, but many of its leaders are now behind bars or have defected. Its candidates are having to stand as independents, and many are on the run. So there's this whole party is being attacked and made illegal, and it does sound a lot like. And growing up as a liberal, I know, and leftist, I don't like to repeat the talking points of the conservative movement, but the way that the Republicans are being talked about in public discourse is really alarming, in the whole way that they've been said to be this dangerous element and they're bad for democracy, and if you know what's good for you, you're going to vote blue no matter who, and vice versa, the radical left, and just this is a toxic discourse, and this is the result of money and politics more than anything else, making it impossible. The cash being thrown at them makes them more representatives of business than anything else. And that being said, they're not doing the interest of their constituents. They're doing the interest of their handlers in almost every case, and this is bad in almost every way for the public, because the people with the least amount of influence, the least amount of money, is the public that these folks are alleged to serve. Instead, it seems like the mafia, in one form or another, has control of the global body politic. So, fun stuff. Moving on from that, wonderful piece of news. Here's a little bit of good news. Elon Musk, well, this part's not so great for Elon, but he had to be drug tested for a whole year after smoking weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. And now the FDA is thinking about defining marijuana as a lower risk drug. Here's what that means. So, because he smoked on that podcast, and because he runs SpaceX, and because SpaceX is a federal contractor, they had to they almost lost all their contracts with NASA and so on, the Defense Department, and so he had to be drug tested like randomly whenever they felt like it by the government, and it's kind of hilarious to me that this billionaire guy was. You would think that he was beyond all that, but nope. If you're in a government contract and you're that prominent and you're that forward, then they're going to make an example of you. But the end result is, because of all of this, the FDA is considering rescheduling marijuana to Schedule 3 instead of Schedule 1. The EEA hasn't responded to that, but as many of us know, that I think marijuana is now legal in more than half of the states, and the list of states where it's not illegal is rapidly dwindling. I remember 2012 where the big shift happened, where it was, I think, the first. Washington, my state, was one of the first, and so we're number one or number 2, 3. It was one of 3 at the time, and followed by a few others the following set of years, and so it's been a rapid decriminalization of it, for different reasons. One could say probably it's big business. I think John Boehner, who's a former Congress guy, got into the biz, and so it's big money now, and those guys like their money. So we have lobbyists now, for better or worse. I would say that over smoking and people being so addicted to high potency pot products is probably not good, and everything within reason. Now I sound like a boomer, but it's true. Like, coming from being a heavy smoker, both tobacco and weed, recently dropped the tobacco and am less like a lot lighter on the weed. I'm like, wow, I this is potent as fuck. Like, I smoke this much? How could I? So it would reposition marijuana from the same classification as heroin and LSD and cocaine and everything else to classify it into the same category as anabolic steroids and ketamine. Now, that's still, I mean, not low enough yet. I'll be happy when it's classified like food. Now, it's potent, it's mind-altering, so it's still an improvement. Shouldn't throw the full book at people that would just want to smoke some weed. So this is possibly good news, and something to keep your eye on. So, last but not least, the challenge of the hour. We have, we lost 3 American service people, on the heels of over 30,000 deaths in Gaza, in the Israeli genocide of the Palestinians ongoing, slowly moving since 1948, but more heavy in recent times. And we finally lost 3 guys in a base in Jordan, and so they're saying it's Iranian-backed militants. They love to say Iranian-backed, and all of this, but so they're quick to do that, even though they're really dealing with local rebels that don't want the U.S. to be there in any context. And this was in Jordan, which we have permission to be in, but very close to doing a stream, dude. Just FYI. No, it's fine. You can come through. Yeah, just don't talk. Okay. Good morning. So, yeah, in that context, we're in these areas in this neighborhood in Iraq still, and Syria still, even though in both of those locations we've been said to we shouldn't be there. They don't want us there. So now we're being attacked by the locals, and it's easy. It's a cop out, I think, and very easy to say it's Iran backed. Now they might be funded, they might be supported loosely by Iran because that's those. Rather than allow the U.S. to just keep pushing into further and further into controlling the entire area, as an empire is wont to do, there is resistance from Iran, and I'm not saying that the government of Iran is great. I'm not saying that they're awesome to people. I'm not saying that women and girls are treated equally and all of that, but at the same time, I disagree with American hegemony and the dollar bubble and all this other stuff. I mean, I benefit from it, but at the same time, I'm a conscientious objector to empire, living as I do in the seat of empire. But the empire needs its own to question it, because that's what, in my opinion, being a patriot is. In a democratic country, is dissenting against the military-industrial complex of your raging out of control global government, and that's how I feel. But yeah, it's ironic that we're attacking back, and we can do all this, and we can support genocide, and if anybody ever comes up against us and tries to attack us, oh man, it's on like Donkey Kong. We're gonna bomb your ass into the Stone Age, right? So it's really one-sided, and that's that shock and awe that they go for, and like absolutely have to have the biggest beep boop in the room, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the folks attacking us, but I'm also not a fan of us putting us in the firing line to have what is it, 750 bases around the world in total, and acting like the world's police and bully and so forth. So, asked if he holds Iran responsible, Biden said, I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it. Speaking to reporters on the White House South Lawn before heading to Palm Beach, Florida for a fundraiser, the president's remarks follow a vow he made on the day of the attack to take swift action to deal with the attacks. We shall respond. After he had a really disingenuous moment of silence, IMO. He blamed the unmanned aerial drone attack on the troops stationed in northeast Jordan near the Syria border on radical Iranian-backed militant. They love that, Iran-backed militant groups. So if they're anywhere close to being supplied and funded by Iran, but they are genuinely local individuals that don't like the U.S. empire being in their backyard, stealing their oil. Look at my last broadcast. Then they're bad, and we're absolutely justified. And let's just hope they don't escalate this into a full-scale war with Iran, please. So he didn't reveal any specifics about what the response would look like. He said we'll take action. So this is actually a non-thing. He was like, we'll respond in the mean and manner of our choosing, and then this makes it seem like he's made a decision, but he won't go into specifics. He's just made a decision to do something. Do something. Meanwhile, Republican Senators Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott of South Carolina and Tom Cotton of Arkansas quickly blamed Biden for the tragedy and joined Senator John Cornyn of Texas in calling for a military strike on Iran. So they're absolutely fucking insane. Even Tucker Carlson said that they're insane, and he's allegedly right or whatever, right wing or whatever. He's now in more of an independent, gotten away from the Fox News bubble and able to say more of what he thinks. He's been more critical of the Empire State in recent months and years, ironically. So that's where we're at, which is the left is or the neoliberal Beltway class is so hopped up and crazy for war and empire that Tucker Carlson has to call him out, right? Former President Donald Trump, the leading GOP presidential contender, blamed Biden for the attack on Truth Social. This brazen attack on the United States is yet another horrific and tragic consequence of Joe Biden's weakness and surrender, he wrote. Now, it doesn't say exactly how he would do anything different. Basically, that whole thing is just a virtual one-upsmanship. Nobody's saying what they'd do better, just like, oh, we could do better. Just vote for us. And then they get in there and they don't do anything either. So, goes to my point about Imran Khan and this whole debacle is like the U.S. looking a whole lot more like a banana republic every day that goes by, with former leaders being quote unquote convicted in scandal, and that's I'll bring that up another time. I didn't have that queued up, but it's an interesting little factoid about the allegations against Trump. They made this huge thing out of attacking him for what he did in Georgia, trying to find votes in Georgia, and it turns out that the prosecutor was literally in bed, or two of the prosecutors were literally in bed together or something like that. Very nutso stuff. Like, hey, come on, if you're going to take out democracy by doing obvious power plays, and endure the jabs of your enemies, then at least do it right. At least seem to be unbiased. That'd be nice. And don't have all sorts of incestuous relationships in the upper echelons of your thingy. So, anywho, that's what I got for you today, and have a good one. If you like the vibe, like and subscribe. Carry on.